Jai Hind and welcome to Team M&D The Futurists. In a video message that gained significant attention online, Singapore Prime Minister Lawrence Wong addressed the implications of U.S tariff policies, warning of a profound shift in global dynamics. He described the world as entering a new phase characterized by increased protectionism and danger, marking a seismic change in the global order. Now, is this happening for the first time? What have been the America's historic missteps that shattered the global order? Over the past century, the United States has wielded unparalleled influence, but with that power came decisions that didn't just stumble the nation, they jolted the entire globe. So this video is about the historical missteps of America. Before we proceed, kindly do subscribe to our channel. Now, when the world's preeminent power falters, the tremors don't stop at its border. They ripple outward, upending economies, toppling governments, and rewriting the rules of international engagement. Now, these were not mere miscalculations, they were pivotal blunders that shifted the course of history, leaving lasting scars on the world's stage. I've taken out 6 defining moments where America's strategic errors sent shockwaves far beyond its shores, and what those lessons might mean as we navigate today's stormy geopolitical waters. The first is Vietnam War 1955 to 1975. The quagmire that undermined a superpower. What unfolded? Fueled by the Cold War, the US plunged into Vietnam to halt communism, spread, escalating from advisories to peak of over 5,40,000 troops by 1969. After years of brutal conflict, America withdrew in 1975, watching helplessly as Saigon fell to North Vietnamese forces. Now, what were the global shockwaves? The war shredded America's moral credibility. Images of napalm scorched villages and atrocities like the Mealy massacre, where US troops killed hundreds of unarmed civilians, flashed across global screens, turning a beacon of democracy into a symbol of imperialist excess. Across Asia, Africa, and Latin America, anti-American fervor ignited, galvanizing anti-colonial struggles and leftist insurgencies. Nations once wary of Soviet influence began to see US as a greater threat. At home, the war fractured American society. Student protests, draft dodging, and a growing distrust of Washington sapped the nation's ability to project strength, exposing vulnerabilities rivals eagerly exploited. The second, the Nixon shock, 1971, when American upended the world's financial bedrock. Now, what unfolded? Facing inflation and a trade deficit, President Richard Nixon abruptly severed the dollar's tie to gold in August 1971, dismantling the Bretton Woods system that had anchored global currencies since 1944. Now, what were the global shockwaves? The move unleashed chaos in international markets. Currencies floated free, inflation spiked, and nations scrambled to protect their economies from the fallout of America's unilateral decisions. Now, trust in United States economic leadership eroded as allies and adversaries alike questioned Washington's reliability. Now, the dollar's dominance held, but its aura of invisibility cracked. By unshackling finance from gold, Nixon opened the floodgates to neoliberal policies, deregulation, and speculation that decades later would culminate in crises like 2008, reshaping global wealth and power in ways still unfolding. Now, the third, Iran coup, 1953, a a short-sighted grab that ignited decades of resentment. What unfolded in 1953? The CIA, alongside British intelligence, orchestrated the ousting of Iran's democratically elected Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh after the nationalized the country's oil, threatening Western corporate interests. The U.S. propped up the Shah in his place. Now, what was the global shockwave? The Shah's autocratic rule, backed by American arms and advisors, bred deep-seated anger among Iranians, erupting in the 1979 Islamic Revolution, a seismic shift that birthed a fiercely anti-US regime still shaping the Middle Eastern geopolitics. Now, this coup sent a chilling message across the developing world: defy American interests, and or else their sovereignty could be next. So, anti-Western sentiment took root from Cairo to Karachi. It set a template for covert meddling in 1954, Chile in 1973, cementing a legacy of suspicion that dogs United States foreign policy to this date. Fourth, Iraq invasion, that was in 2003. A war built on lies that fractured the world. What unfolded in 2003? President George W. Bush launched an invasion of Iraq, claiming Saddam Hussein harbored weapons of mass destruction. No WMDs were found, and the war spiraled into a costly, chaotic occupation. Now, what were the global shockwaves? The decision split the Western Alliance. France, Germany, and others refused to join, while global protest decreed United States arrogance. NATO's unity frayed, and America's diplomatic clout took a hit. Now, Iraq's collapse unleashed a maelstrom, violence, that refuge crisis, and the rise of ISIS, destabilizing the Middle East and beyond for over a decade. Now, the war's fallout tortured scandals like Abu Ghraib, trillion-dollar costs, and a tarnished reputation recast the United States as less liberator, more reckless aggressor, eroding its moral and strategic leverage. The fifth is the 2008 financial crisis. America's greed brought the world to its knees. What unfolded? A housing bubble fueled by unchecked subprime lending and Wall Street's exotic financial instruments burst in 2008, plunging the US and the world into the worst recession since 1930s. What was the global shockwave? The contagion spread fast. Banks failed in Iceland, Greece, on collapse, and millions lost homes and jobs globally, all tied to America's financial recklessness. Now, disillusionment with the US-led economic order sparked populist revolts, Brexit, Trump's rise, and anti-elite movements worldwide traced their roots to this betrayal of trust. As America stumbled, rivals like China seized this movement, offering alternative models of growth and stability, accelerating a shift in global economic power. Sixth, post 9/11 war on terror, a crusade that stretched too far. What unfolded after the